Sorry for the delay. If anybody can't hear, just let us know. If we need to adjust mics or something, I'll run over and try to fix it. I just wanted to say a few things. Thank you, Luis, for doing the show. It's incredible. And you were our artist in residence in 2024, Bread and Salt Artist in Residence. And it's a really interesting thing that happened this year. We have a full year of past artists in residence. We've never done that before in the decade plus that we've been doing shows. It's a really neat thing that started to happen for Bread and Salt. We have past artists in residence also in the audience, which is really cool. It's a really neat thing that started to happen with our Artists in Residence program, where we're kind of finding talent and supporting them, and then they go off and start to have these really great careers. So you're one of those people, and it's really neat. And a new thing this year also is this zine that Bread and Salt's producing. It's all free. They come out every 3 months, and they highlight the solo exhibitions that we're doing. So this is the third one, and Abby Filson is our new Bread and Salt assistant, but she's also the editor for these zines. So grab a zine, talk to Abby about it. And since Abby just did this just came out yesterday, and Abby worked on it with Luis, so it's like we might as well try to do this conversation and see where it goes. But thank you, Abby, too. Like, great job on these zines. They're really cool. And it's a neat thing that's free from Bread and Salt. It's another neat thing that Bread and Salt's doing to support artists, so grab one. And thank you. And so let us know if you guys can't hear anything. We're also going to put this on YouTube, and yeah, I think that's it. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tom.
Yeah.
And thank you, Luis, for being here and sharing with us your practice and your experiences. And
thank you. Thank you, Abby.
Yeah, I wanted to start maybe where this exhibition kind of started for you. Your show was in part kind of inspired by an anecdote from your childhood.
Yeah.
Maybe could you talk a little bit about that experience and how it could serve as an entry point to understanding more of the themes of this show?
Okay. Yeah. Well, this show has to do with memory, and it's been building up through the process of building up the exhibition. And the first idea that was in my mind after Isabel and Tom invited me to the show, because we started from there to think about what we could present, was this anecdote of me like having a picture with this Easter bunny in a mall, and I don't remember exactly what happened in that moment, but my mother did, that she is here right now, and shout out to my mom because she's been great supporting me. And well, she told me about that anecdote, and I remember that I was having not a good experience, and I was very afraid. And I remember that I was crying, and my mom told me it was because I saw the Easter bunny took its head off, and I saw there was a human underneath it. So that was very traumatic, apparently. And well, this show started from that memory. And the reason it's called Sweet Dreams is because the connection with that is thinking about nightmares and the way everybody's memory works different. So mine works between, if we think about nightmares or dreams or memories, it's hazy, and it's like around different spaces that I can't identify visually, but I can identify emotionally or vividly. And vividly in that way, in emotion and that part. You know? So the show starts from there. So that's why we can see this archetype of this anthropomorphic character that is the bunny, and it can be like Lola Bunny, and then it becomes like Felix the cat. So after that experience, what you can see in the show immediately is this representation of the humanization of animals or the animalization of humans. So yeah, I think that's where it starts a little bit.
Yeah, you're crafting this sort of psychological atmosphere, like between dreams and nightmares, and your viewer becomes immersed in these through, I feel like, through the characters that you're presenting, like Lola Bunny and Bugs Bunny and Felix the cat. All of those recognizable characters are sort of like grounding the viewer in the space. I was wondering, how does the accumulation of this popular imagery, these pop culture sort of icons, connect to the religious and art historical iconography that you're using?
Well, I discovered it through the process of making the show, because I start doing something and I don't have the exact idea of what is going on, but I know my practice and I just go ahead and at the same time this is a show that happened between Tijuana, Mexico City and San Diego. I moved to Mexico City like 2 years ago. So it's always been of my interest going to churches, and well, in Mexico City it's you can see directly like the way the city, well, the country was built, you know, like through the Mexica cosmogony and the Spaniard colonization. So it's a big part of living in Mexico City. So I began to go to different churches and seeing a lot of painting history. So after that, these popular images that you can see in every big city or small city too, these pop icons. But the reason I was using them, it was because of their their iconography, and at the same time the weight that they had in society, like a religious image. And I was very into the crucifixion studies, so that's why we have this mix of things going on in the show, that you can see that there's a lot of crucifixion studies. So yeah, that's a little bit of why we have this religious images going on with this specific figures.
Yeah, and we talked before about your specific, more like art historical references, how you're kind of speaking to past peers.
Constantly, I think I talk with different artists. In my head, I put it like open dialogues with deceased colleagues, and I think that happens a lot through art. And everybody that does art, or even if you don't do art, you have these conversations around art. Or specifically for me, it's with painting. So constantly, I think, even though the work is, we have a video installation, or we have a large sculpture or a painting, I think all the time I'm trying to connect, specifically with painting history. So I think you can see that a little bit in the show through different mediums and expanding through different artworks that merge into, like, well, specifically the video installation, the performance and video installation.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like you talk about San Diego, Tijuana, and Mexico City as being these really significant presences in your works, and you're kind of engaging with ghosts and haunting, and can you kind of tie all of that together and talk about how those three cities are present here in this show?
Yeah, I think that in any city that's going through a process of getting bigger, like, for example, Tijuana, it's a city that it's like only, I think, like 130 years old. Today it's Tijuana's birthday, actually, so.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. Congratulations, Tijuana. And I think there's ghosts everywhere, and you can see them too if you're like very sensitive about it. And in Mexico City, you can see the ghosts everywhere. I moved to Mexico City and I had a studio in Centro Histórico, like near El Zócalo. So it was inevitable to feel the energy of the space, because basically I was producing some paintings on top of where culture was made of in Mexico, like contemporary culture was made of. So that's very important in the work. And I think that you're all the time talking to what ideas that were before, or I like to make that, to make references all the time. And like in a more personal way, I have an independent art space in Tijuana called Sala de Espera, and that project is situated in what used to be a private clinic from the 50s. So we work around what the architecture of the space let us work around, and we think about the imaginarium of what used to happen there. And when you work in what used to be a clinic or a hospital, if you have enough sensitivity, I mean, you're able to work around ghosts. And it's not like the ghosts that you see in movies. It's the idea of what happened there, and you can be able to connect with whatever happened there with your artistic process or your personal process. And I was like lucky enough to be able to work with ghosts for like until like for 6 years now. So that's where I started to think about like opening voids conceptually or talking with ghosts, and that like being very important process of that conceptual part of my work. And the other, that's where the ghosts are. Conceptually, they are there.
Yeah, which I think is a really interesting moment, being in Bread and Salt, which was a former
Exactly.
bread factory, and this used to have another function, and now we're turning this space into an art space, and there are those sort of ghosts in that way.
I mean, we've done that, artists and artistic communities, through the years. We go into places that nobody wants to take, and for us are like, they're golden. They're like, it's a treasure to work with a place that has history. And a lot of people can do it, but it's proven that artists, we have the sensitivity to work around that and to make something else about it. I don't know if for better, if for worse. I'm sure it's for better, but it depends on whoever thinks of what is going on in the building. But I think that's a great part of being an artist and building communities in spaces that used to be something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I think I want to turn to the fences. I think we have this really interesting moment over here where the fence structure is built. As the viewer, you're kind of surrounded by this fence as you enter that space, and we've talked about this, you're kind of trying to reconcile the fence in your vision with looking at the other artworks. You're looking through the fence, and you're kind of having this moment of challenging the fence almost. And I was wondering if you could share your thoughts on that, how the fence was incorporated in this installation.
Well, the fence is a very interesting object to work around. Being an artist from Tijuana, I've always tried to not talk about specifically the idea of the limit that is presented to you when you're born in a border city like Tijuana or San Diego. So this was the first show or first interaction with the idea of the fence being very visible. So we have paintings, but they are sculptures. These are sculptures that have paintings on them. But the reason why the fence is there is because it was very easy to think of using it. Because when I came back from Mexico City after a year, when you're going to TJ walking, you see like this ridiculous installation of the border crossing to Tijuana that has like fences everywhere, barbed wire everywhere. Where it says Mexico is like blinking, so it looks like you're going to hell. And I think that was very impressive and very funny because it felt like you were going to jail or something. And that's when I began to think about, well, I think I need to talk about this now in this specific installation. So after that, we talked about it a little bit. It's like, well, we've seen this fence being used by the actual government in different parts of the world, but we've seen it used. And when you're using it, I realized that it's not even strong enough to hold anybody. It's like it's so weak. But what makes it strong, or apparently strong, is the idea of why it's put there. So those are some of the ideas of why we made this installation. And it's made, everybody can feel different around it, but for me that was one of the ideas that I had of understanding the representation of the limit, and it's not only in the border city, it's like you can have it like when you buy a piece of land and you put it so anybody goes inside. But we used it in order to understand like what is that, because the limit doesn't start or ends between Tijuana and San Diego. The limit is not even visible because you have a border even in between cities in Mexico or even in between cities in the United States. So it's something that is used, but it doesn't define what is going on inside the show, and it doesn't define a person if it's from Tijuana, if they are from Tijuana or San Diego.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's some of the ideas that go around the fence,
Yeah.
conceptually, yeah.
Yeah, because you're crossing all those fences to be here, and it's kind of more about who uses the fence and how,
Yeah.
rather than what the actual material it is. So,
Yeah, and I'm not saying that border doesn't exist. I mean, of course it exists, but there's a lot of different conceptual borders, and those were the ideas afterwards. Well, before and afterwards, using the fence, no? So yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that's an interesting point to enter into the video installation,
Yeah.
And how that was kind of produced across multiple spaces, and how it was produced in Mexico City.
Yeah.
And how it's ended up here. If you could talk a little bit about that experience and how it was
Well,
created.
it's a very fun artwork to do. It was a performance at the same time because we only have one shot going on there. But I did this video with Andrea Narvaez, Motero Tranquilo, which she is an amazing artist and film director from Puerto Rico, and we thought about using this costume of the bunny, and I used it, and we made this cross, and I was walking around specifically the Las Cruces 6. It's the cross 6th Street near El Zócalo. So I mean, we did a lot of different takes of the video, but we only decided to use this auto crucifixion of the Easter bunny shot on loop. But yeah, I mean, it was like a sort of a very surreal experience to be turned into the memory, you know, because that's what's going on with that sculpture over there specifically. It's what's the name? Well, how do you say it in English? What you do when you skin an animal? No, like what happened with that sculpture of the when you do that.
I don't know. Is there a specific word?
Yeah, there wasn't a specific word. You told me about it, Tom. No.
Come on,
Well-
Tom.
Well, but flay, was it flayed? I think it's flayed or something. I mean, but we basically we skinned the memory, and that's why we have that costume there put that way. You know, like that was very interesting too, to use a costume and to become the memory and the dream and the nightmare, and then have this crucifixion study going on with the costume that I used, and put it that way with that sculpture. You know? So it was a complete cycle of the starting point being the memory, embodying the memory, and then finishing whatever has had to be finished to all the concepts around that memory and me. So that's like the full circle of what's going on with that memory and the video installation. Well, at the same time, the installation, you have to see it standing from inside the fence, the chain link, and you see it through a fence, and then I had to destroy the wall a little bit. So there was what was happening with the auto crucifixion with the hammer happened with the wall too. So there's a lot of things going on. I think it's a very interesting process to do that. So I'm still understanding exactly what happened, or what can be done afterwards, or what is going on in the mind, going through all this different cities process, video, sculpture, painting history. And I think that artwork specifically is very interesting to understand what's going on, or to think more of what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Well, I think that's a great place to wrap it up and maybe open up to questions.
If we have questions, I do have a microphone, so we capture it on here, but if anybody has questions, I'll hand this microphone out. Anybody?
I think there's a question over here.
Here. This is only to capture on the camera, so you have to talk loud enough so that
I will try to talk loud.
I can hear you.
Wow, usually I don't go first. But thank you so much for this amazing discussion around your work and learning a little more about it. Just wanted to kind of reflect a little bit on the conversation of hauntings, what you guys were mentioning, things in relation to space, being very cognizant of the space in which there's a lot of different layered histories that go on, as well as thinking of the work that's being presented. Just one small observation of like the pieces right in front of us, like you're talking about like crucifixions, the crucifixion within the image as well as within the material, and how interestingly enough that the paintings or the sculptural pieces on the fence also have this very bodily presence of being crucified on the fence as well, and as well as how the plaster is being manipulated onto the 2D surface is very violent, it's very energetic, it has a lot of movement within it. So to go back to like my question, kind of thinking about in the sense of the images in relation to the haunting and the material, but do you kind of work in this conversation of hauntings as a form of subversion, enhancing, or reimagining of it?
That's an interesting question of what is going on. I think it's reimagining, like with the material that's in the process that the painting goes through mainly is like a process of building it and having some devastation to the canvas and turning it into something else. So I think it has to do more like reimagining and making it something more, like.
Yeah.
So I think it goes more around that. Like,
I have like a follow-up question to that is like reimagining. I can imagine it's also the reimagining of like this dark humor, morbid humor that's happening in the work, and like obviously it's derived from like your personal experience with the bunny, and also like this political conversation around the border. I guess I don't know. I guess I'm trying to think more in relation to like the morbid humor and how you kind of go about that.
I mean, of course, there's some dark humor around it. I mean, we need humor to like live through some stuff, and there's some intense contents in the artworks, and I think that having like not to laugh about it, but I mean, we need to go through it some way.
Yeah.
And what other artwork I think does that? I mean, I think a lot of them do that because there's some humor onto it, but specifically maybe the painting that's on that side or to the right, that has like Felix the cat on that burnt structure or burnt piece of wood. It's a found object from a house that was burned down in my street, and it's called home. So Felix the cat is like in a gracious way living his home being burnt down. So it's something about resilience, no? You know how you have to like. I mean, you can live it however you can, but I think that I try to make it in a gracious way, even though the contents can be like very sad or intense to understand. So that's the reason why some of the characters in the paintings look graceful, or like, yeah, and like, well, the painting, there's some specific parts from the painting on the left that it's related to dance macabre, like la danza macabra, like dancing, the dance of death, specifically with this cartoon from Mickey Mouse, the haunted house, that he is like dancing around death, skeletons, and I think that, I mean, I don't know if the writer of that cartoon is Mexican, but I think it's a very Mexican thing to look at death in the eye and like dance with it. So that's another idea that is in the painting, and some of the in that painting specifically, that goes around what I think you just said.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your beautiful response.
Thank you.
I just want to say too, this is Amanda Cacciadorian. She was our artist in residence in 2019. Which is pretty crazy. It's cool to have you back. Yeah. Do you have other questions?
Hi, thank you so much for this talk. I feel very enlightened. What I kind of really want to know is, I don't think you've mentioned it during this talk or throughout the zine that I've been reading through, but I'm kind of like interested as to like why you use the method of like charring. I'm
The method of what?
like charring something, like so like burning,
Okay.
using fire as like part of like the process. What I've been noticing is you have a lot of like charred wood, and like some of your paintings also have like burn marks on it. And you mentioned in your talk that you took a piece of a burnt like house as like the canvas for your material. So, and especially like in you know Mexican culture, fire is used to like to like purify things. But in like the case of colonization, especially with like the Spanish conquest, it can be used to like destroy things. So, what is your connection between like you know how you practice your art and like how and like your use of fire as like part of the process?
I think that the first time, well, to respond better, I did a show back in 2016 that it was called Catabolismo, and the conceptual idea behind it, it was like this a specific biological process inside the body that la célula eats another one in order to make something else about it. So conceptually with my paintings, I was thinking about devastating the artwork in order for make it to mutate in a way. So through the years since 2016, I've like covered my paintings with gesso or with plaster and drawn over them. So there has been always a conceptual idea of, in my mind, making some process less in order to make it more. And when I started to work more with sculpture, I began to make it in different ideas. Like I was casting aluminum, I was burning wood, I was using plaster and touring the plaster down in order to see what was behind. And the first time I used fire in order to make something else, I think it was here in the residency. It's with this Greek studies. I was making these studies of Edvard Munch. And this sculpture right here was one of the sculptures I did back then. And I began to understand like the way the burning of the wood was helping me to make something else. So it was a very direct interaction of what I was thinking conceptually happening like with the element or the material by itself. So I could see it right there. And this is the first time that I burn plaster or like the whole thing gets burned down a little bit or something like that. So I'm investigating more around the devastation of the process. Wood right now is a very important material in my work. I've been working with construction materials for a couple of years now, so it's only been getting more complex, you know. So fire. And if I go directly conceptually in my memories, I have an experience with a burnt home like from a couple of years ago. So it made sense to work with the burning wood as a method of getting somewhere with my work, and that's why that piece over there, it's there too, because there's a direct connection with a personal experience of a house being turned down or like part of a house being turned down by fire. So between memory, material, and well, looking for I don't know if a response, but like having doubts of everything, of materials and the process and all that, right now it makes a lot of sense to work with the burning of wood. And what you said about colonization and the way at the same time the burning of wood it's made to make something pure, you couldn't put it in a better way, you know. So you gave a response in a little bit and made me right now understand more why I use that as a method too. So thank you.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll be putting this on YouTube. It's on our Bread and Salt YouTube channel. Great job.
Well, thank you everyone for coming. Thank you, Brent Salt. Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Tom. And thank you to everyone who has been part of the process of this show. I feel very grateful and very grateful with the artistic community from San Diego, from Tijuana, and well, very proud to be part of this community. And thank you all you guys for coming here.